another interesting episode of Inside Out. And this week we have one of those topics that will cause plenty of talk. Growing up as a Nigerian child, I remember that my mom used to talk to us with her eyes. And there's the one that the sign that she will show you, and you know that when you get home, you are finished. There's no need to talk. And if you ever went to any school in those days, federal government college, private, whatever, when they bring out ruler, nobody has to say, well, maybe they bring out ruler, you do like this. For all those of us who grew up in those days, we know that caning, flogging, beating, corporal punishment was a part of growing up. I know that sometimes there's a tendency to overdo it. I also know that I've heard that there are children that caning does nothing for. I mean, there are all sorts of theories that have been compounded, but I know that I'm a result of very serious caning. As a parent, as a teacher, as a child, do you really believe that we should spare the rod? I think that this is a panel that will be able to help us find some kind of forward movement on this issue. It's been a bit controversial. Let me start my introduction from my left. Please help me welcome Mrs. Mosumola Data. She's from the Ministry of Women's Affairs and Poverty Alleviation for Lagos State Government. Next to her, another female, she's a teacher and a parent, Mrs. Aletile Afolake. You're welcome to the panel. Please help me welcome Mary Ima Okon. She's from Green Spring School. You're welcome. And last is Dr. Ijarogbe. Am I correct?
Yes.
She's a child psychiatrist. You're welcome, Doctor. A pretty panel. Let's start with the child herself.
Okay.
You didn't want me to start with you. Is it okay if I start with you? Tell me, what do you think?
I think that, like, it depends on your kind of child. Like, if your child is bad, then, like, you shouldn't spare the rod. Like, if your child is like, I'm going to go do drugs and all that, then you need to, like, beat them so then they'll understand, like, you need to stop this. But if your child is like, okay, we talk about it and, like, you'll stop. We know if we talk to you and, like, we'll be like, the child is like, okay, Mom, I understand, and I'll stop. And the child does stop. And I think, like,
So what you're saying is that the parent should first of all try talk.
Yeah, you start talking with the child to be like, okay, so let me like, talk to you, you stop, and then, okay, you see their, like, movements and all that.
So if talk doesn't work, then we can go to the road.
Yes, we can.
That's what you're saying?
Yes.
Have you ever been smart?
I'm not bad, so, no, not really.
Me, myself, I wasn't bad though, but Kate got it. At least I can say I tried.
Because my dad was always like, your future, like, we want to shape you up into a good future. So I'm like, okay, I've learned from what he's like talking to me about. So I'm like, I'm going to follow what he's telling me, not like those bad children and be like them. I want to be like, I have a successful future and listen to my dad and not, like, disrespect them. Because if I if I disrespect them, then I'll have, like, a bad future. So.
Okay. Have you ever met any children, your classmates, your peers, maybe juniors, that you think, oh God, this child needs the parents to really cane this child into shape?
Yes.
Tell me examples of what kind of things make you think that.
So it was like my old friend, because I used to be in Dubai. So my friend is like...
You used to be in
Dubai.
Before
I came to Nigeria.
Okay.
So like my friend is like smoking and all that on the streets. And I'm like, what is wrong with this child? If you came to Nigeria, they would actually smack you until you get bruises and all that.
Is the child Nigerian?
No.
Okay.
Like English.
Okay.
From London and all that. So the child is like, I want to go smoke and do all that and, like, living the thug life. So then
At what age is that?
Like 14 or 15. So
Okay.
the child is like, he said that he went out with his dad because their parents divorced. Went out with his dad, he was drinking with his dad. And I'm like, this is really bad. So I'm like, if you come to Nigeria, you are going to die. They're going to beat you up and all that. Like, they should stop what you're doing.
So let me ask you objectively, as a young lady growing up in today's age, do you think that the way, good thing is that you have traveled So you have been outside here and you have been here, both. Which kind of upbringing do you think is better, you as a child?
Well, I think the outside world is better because there it depends on your environment, if you're in a good one or a bad one. If you're in a good environment, your parents would be like, okay, we trust you to go out and we know you do this and we don't need to be you for all that. But then if you're in a bad environment, be like, oh, my friend is doing this, so I want to follow him. But then for all those people that are in the good environment, you could be following them, you could do all the good stuff with them. So if you want to like be a good child, you should be in the outside with your parents talking with you. Not only that I'm going to get the cane and beat you and all that.
So you think the children on that side of town, more developed countries, you think their children turn out better than the children who grow up here because they are more exposed to communication?
Well, the ones that grow up here, most of them actually turn out good, but not with like the highest of, jobs and all that. But some out there have the cheap ones like, salesperson, like I, do the shifting of the like shelves in the mall. But then the ones here, people like turn out to be all those big people, like generals. So I think like, that if you're going to be here, you could shape up better. But there's a high chance that you could shape up bad.
So outside, there's a higher chance that you'll shape up bad than here. Why do you think that is?
Because here, they beat children more than out there. We're out there to be like, okay, stop doing this. Meanwhile, the child will constantly continue to do what they're doing. But then here, they're like, if you do it again, I'll beat you. But then you learn from that, and then you now continue to follow the good path because you've already been like in that habit of your parents like, okay, so if you do this, I'm going to beat you. Meanwhile, you could just like develop.
Do you think that helps?
Yeah.
The fact that you know that you can get whooped?
Yes.
It does help.
Because it scares you. It's like, daddy's going to beat me with the cane. Oh, so then you'd be like, okay, so let me just do the right thing. So next time I know I won't do it again.
Okay. Thank you for giving us from your point of view, and I think you've been perfect. Let me talk to you, Mrs. Dada, because you were nodding your head and shaking your head and all of those things. You represent government. You represent authority. What are your views? Which also means I assume that you also have some background in education. And you most likely be a parent, which makes you an all-rounder. So I am curious to hear your view.
Yeah, sparing the rod.
Yes.
The child right law states that in the process of trying to correct a child, you don't bruise a child, you don't abuse a child. When you say you want to correct a child who has erred or has done something bad, and you have not made that child see a reason why that child should change from that way, you are only saying, I'll cane you, I'll beat you, I'll flog you. The child may not do that, may not, engage in that vice where you are because of the fear of being caned, not actually because the child is convinced that vice is not good. So the tendency is high that when you are not there, when nobody is supervising, the child
will go back
to that, yes, and do a lot of other things and hide it. Instead of, being corrected, the child gets worse.
So what you're saying in essence is that you will correct the child out of fear only for that moment, and that the correction is not lasting.
Correction is not lasting, only for that moment.
So how do you propose? That's what the child's rights law says in present-day Lagos.
Yeah.
So is there any circumstance under which that law allows you use cane?
The law did not state that you could use cane, but of course you can spank your child, but not to the extent of beating a child to a coma, because we see so many cases daily, even parents using knives on their children. We have cases like that are still ongoing in court. A parent even poured hot water on his daughter. So you can imagine the kind of
anger. These are the kind of things that
these are the kind of things we see each day. And when you talk to them, they will say the child had done something wrong, and in a fit of anger, you know, they lost the control of themselves and kept on beating the child until they did something that could even take the life of the child.
Case. Does the law recognize the fact that those are extreme cases rather than just trying to spank to correct or smack to correct?
Do you know, because of the reason of beating children, we have more strict children in Lagos now. When you pick up these children, you ask them,
Could you explain that?
why are you on the street? They have run away from their homes.
Why?
Because they are being brutalized in the name of being corrected.
What do you mean brutalized? As in
Beating
kind of extreme
seriously,
beating?
like as if they are armed robbers that were caught in the market stealing.
I'm trying hard not to say the plenty things that have come to my head to say so that we don't start the conversation. I'm just trying to get an overview. Because when you say all the things you say, it makes perfect sense. But I'm thinking to myself, as somebody who was once a child growing up here, that all those things you say, what is the difference between now and then? What is going on? What would I have said because I saw my dad drinking Gulda, when he goes away, I'll go and open the Gulda to drink? I mean, there's something in me that tells me straight away that that's an adult thing. And even a child that is 2, when the child is doing something wrong, they usually are aware. A lot of the time.
You will agree with me that when you were 5, the things you could not do, the things you didn't even know, your child, when your child was 5, your child knew.
Okay, so times have changed.
Times are changing, children are getting more intelligent, they have access to a lot of, you know, a lot of things, the internet, the television, so many things. They are getting so more intelligent. In our days, before you could get into a university, you will have been like 17, 18. But now, 14, 15, you know, by 14, 15, my daughter is 18. She's in her 3rd year in a university right now.
Really?
Yes. When I was 18, I was just getting into a university. So they are faster in everything. They learn fast. So they look at their environment, whatever they see, they try to, you know, pick up some things and, you know, just do. That is why they need our supervision. And nowadays, you know, parents hardly have time for their children, maybe because of the economic situation, which even also contributes to the way some parents and some even teachers handle children. They seem to vent their anger on children at every opportunity because they are frustrated anyway, maybe by the system or by the environment or by what they are going through. And by the time they get hold of a cane, you know, you beat a child out of proportion. It's so bad. And it makes
So what you're saying is
angry.
rather than have that extreme, let's not have it at all.
There are ways by which you can punish a child, and not even punish, correct a child. You don't want to punish a child, you want to correct that child, so that that child, when you are not even there, the child would know this is
Okay,
wrong.
so we don't
how
use
to
the
do
word
it.
punish a child again.
Don't correct a child.
Why can't you punish a child?
It should be corrective. When you say you want to punish a
I
child,
asked
it
a
means you want
question
to do
because me, I know that we
something-
self-punishment
because
when
no,
we do wrong.
punishment is a negative word. That means you want
Yes,
to
now you did
negative.
something wrong and they're punishing you.
Correct. If you have not done something wrong, you will not need correction.
You want to make me talk? I'm not going to talk. Oh. I'm not talking. I will leave it as you have said it. Let me talk to you, Mrs. Aletile. How are you?
I'm good.
Yes, you're a teacher.
Yes.
A parent.
I'll start from her.
Okay.
She said something that some parents, in the process of correcting a child,
Yes.
they brutalize, they damage the skin or whatever. That is not a correction or a punishment, ma'am. For me to use a cane, this is not a cane. A cane is a stick that if she does something wrong, I call her, 1, 2, 3. Don't do that again, it's not good. I will cite a scenario. My little girl of 2 years old. Like 2 months back, you know, in our country now, electricity, whatever. Anytime she wakes like 5 a.m., she would wake the dad. She used to call her dad, AB. You say, hey, B, up NEPA. What does she mean? She need lights.
Okay.
So she would say, hey, B, up NEPA. My husband will wake, she will go and hunt the gen. She will be happy. And now I woke up one day, I told him, for you to be waking every time and on the light for her, there will be a day that there will be no fuel in the generator. There will be a day that you might not have enough money to get fuel. And if you don't on this light for this girl, she will not like it. So why can't we train this girl for the both sides? No light or lights. She will be okay. My husband said, no, she's my daughter. Let me give her whatever she needs. I was washing. But anytime she now say, AB, up NEPA, I'll tell her, hello, babe, no light this morning. One day, my husband was very tired. The girl now woke him. The dad was like, no, I'm tired. I said, you will wake up, oh. You must go and hunt the gem for her. Because you are spoiling this child. Why am I saying all this? So when she now started to cry, like the scenario you cited the other time that your boy
My son did, yeah.
did, the same thing the girl did. She just leave the bed and go to the floor and started crying, raising her legs. I was looking at her, how old are you that you're doing this? Being a teacher, I went in, I took my belt. I just came up. Debbie, stop doing this. It's not good. Your daddy is spoiling you. Is it because your daddy has a little change? Is that why you are behaving this way at your age? So, since that morning that I caned her, she will wake at that time, but she will not tell the dad up NEPA again. Thank you. I will now go to the issue of brutalizing the child. It's not for you to cane. If you're using cane, you can't give bruises to the body. Because there's a way you can. Being a teacher, I also cane. But I cane to some extent. And if I'm caning you, I will let you know the reason why I'm caning you. And I will tell you I am correcting you for your future, not for today. So for government or whosoever that say we should not cane, I think they are not really helping. Yes. We are not to cane to spoil the skin or to give damage or whatever to the skin. But when you cane a child, cane to some extent and let the child know why you're caning. Now I'll go back to my young lady beside me. She was saying something the other time that for you are supposed to cane because when the child is bad, how do you know that this child is a bad boy? How do you know that this girl is a bad girl? You need to sit down, study. For you to discipline a child, study the child. Like my daughter that I used as an example, I've really studied her. And I know what and what.
Don't you think that what the Lagos State government is saying, for instance, is how do you know when a person will draw the line between caning to correct and brutalizing?
That's okay. You know some
she said what she said now is that a lot of parents and teachers are frustrated and they end up venting their frustrations on the children.
I think that's parents, not teachers now.
Even teachers.
Yes,
because we've had kids. So
I know. You know, some parents might be frustrated. Teachers also might be frustrated. But if you're a teacher, you are not just a teacher, but you are a counselor. And for you to be a counselor, you need to study that child. You will not even allow the frustration from your home or from any other part of your family or whatever to affect you.
But there must have been a reason why that happened.
I am saying it for the parents, ma'am. That for
do you have children who come to school, for instance, and they have bruises as a result of beating?
From home.
From home.
Yes, we do.
So do you understand why they would put that kind of law?
Yes. That is why I'm saying not from the school. Because we teachers, what we do is that we stop these children. Like, you know, at times they can frustrate you, like what she said, but don't allow your own frustration. Children can frustrate you, but don't allow your own frustration.
Now that you are a teacher in Lagos State, when you see a child that is really stubborn, and maybe you think the child needs to be caned, what is your alternative?
I punish the child.
How?
I will not cane.
How?
I will give you an example.
Yes.
I was in a class on Thursday, this Thursday.
Yes.
I was teaching.
Yes.
And they know my rules. I get to the class, bring out my own notes. I don't want to see any other notes with you, except my subjects. So, and as I'm writing, you write. Immediately I put down my pen, you put down yours, because I will need to explain. While explaining, you don't write. And this Thursday that I was talking, I was explaining, and this boy was writing. And if I'm going to the class, I don't even go with K. But immediately I step into the class, I will just fold my hands, and they know what I mean. So immediately the class is calm. So as I was explaining the topic to them, this boy was writing, and I saw him. And now I stopped explaining. I just stood. I was looking like this. Everybody was like looking, what is going on? Why is she not saying anything again? They now saw the boy. Mr. Letty, stop now. Can't you see that she's looking at you? I didn't say a word. This boy kept writing.
Even after everybody around told him?
You know, you want to prove to me now. So when I now saw it, I said, okay, oh yeah, stand up. He stood with his biro. I said, go there, go and kneel down. You know what he did? I looked at myself. Am I too small to be a teacher? And I was, okay, you want to prove yourself to me that I'm too small to be, okay, take your book, go to the principal's office and stay there. That is a punishment.
Is that punishment?
It is. Because he's missing out. Yes, he's missing from what I am teaching them. So later, let me just finish the scenario.
Okay.
Later, when he got to the principal's office, the principal now sent the non-teaching staff to me that what happened. I said, this is what happened. The woman went back to the principal and told him what happened. The principal asked him to stay there. So it was during the break time, the boy now came to me. From morning, first period, till break time, that's 11:20. That's when the principal allowed him to leave the office and come back to me. When he came to me, I said, are you ready now? You know you have missed what I've taught your class this morning. Why? Because you disobeyed me. So that is the punishment. He says,
was that effective?
Yes, it is.
Okay.
Next time, he will not do that again.
Well, if that is effective, then that means you really don't need to cane the child.
That is.
Thank you very much. I was coming to that.
No, I'm coming to the issue of frustration, because you said, you know, the guy frustrated me.
Yes.
He frustrated. If I want to cane him, I will go to the extent of even removing his hand. But I don't want to do that. That's why I punished the boy. And that punishment, I think, for him to leave the class and go there, he will never do that again.
That will have had more effect on the guy than even caning.
That's why I said, if you're correcting a child, let the child know the reason for why.
Right, okay. Now, let's talk to you, Doc. This is what you do. You're a child psychiatrist.
Yes.
Yes. What is your opinion on this issue and why?
A topic that is, I would say, it's culturally based in a way, and socioeconomically based.
Explain that.
Corporal punishment is a form of punishment in which you inflict pain on the child or on the individual in order to, will I say, get some form of revenge for what that person has done wrong.
So you call it getting revenge.
Yes, that's why
an interesting way to look at it.
That's why it's a punishment. And it's spans from just gentle paddling of the child to even capital punishment, like death penalty.
You look
in
at
adults.
that simple spanking
Yes.
on the same level as death penalty.
Yes, that's
a
what
serious
corporal
matter.
punishment is. So it's now on a template of very little to the extreme.
Yeah.
And you now say, how much of this measure do I want to give a child? And what for? For those of us that are in psychiatry, we know that the effect of corporal punishment or inflicting pain, the aim is you want to put a lot of anxiety in that individual. And pain, probably to make the person reflect on what has transpired, what has been done, whatever it is that the person has committed. So, would you want to do this with a child? Now, let me start from a very young child. You will not be able to explain to a very young child what you have done wrong. Let's say a 2-year-old. Or
You cannot explain to a 2-year-old what they've done wrong.
And they would understand. Let's come to a 1-year-old. We are looking at their cognitive development. You probably will not be able to make a 1-year-old see what is wrong with my sitting down here and watching somebody else. And so the mode of correction for children who are very young is that you do what they call reward and deterrent. You reward their very good behavior because you want to reinforce that behavior. So they will continue to behave that way. And then you give them some what we call deterrent to help them not to, perpetuate that act that you don't like. And so often, most parents have found experientially that the deterrent that most children respond to is a gentle paddling. And the reason why is not far-fetched. The very, very young child will not understand your long explanation why he or she should not do this. And so she probably will not
What you're saying
stop.
now is that even the kind of punishment is based on the age and level
Yes.
of understanding of authority of the
Yes,
child.
of the child.
Okay.
And the intellectual development of the child. There are some children we say are intellectual age of 4, even though they're 16 years of age. But because they are not at par with their mates. We talk now about children now being so very socially developed and all that. Children now who are mental age of 6, in our days we are maybe mental age of 4. Because there's a kind of upscale in mental age now. So children are understanding things more.
Better. No.
So if I want to deter a child, or if, scientifically want to deter a child that is 1 year old from doing something. Let's say a child is climbing a wall, and I want the child to stop. And I bring the child down and explain, don't climb this wall, you could fall and all that. And the child just keeps giggling at me, laughing, and goes away. He'll come back again and climb the wall, right outright, no matter what I say.
Yes.
But if you give a gentle paddle, don't do that. He's shocked at mommy's reaction, and then may try it again and watch you, and then you do it again. Sometimes our correction don't work because we're not firm, and we keep shifting the goalpost. Each time the child does it, you would have made up your mind. Correction is not something that should happen by accident when you like. Every parent must determine that correction is what I will give with precision every time I need to give it. And that is the only way it will work, because what you're trying to do is mold behavior.
Yeah.
So most of these corrective things have been experiments done, even with animals. The animal jumps on one thing, gives an electric shock, bam. The animal doesn't go there. Tries it again, gives an electric shock, bam. The animal stops going there. So, over time, what they call corporal punishment, beating, flogging, all that, is something that has existed in every culture, both European, African, Middle East, over time. But the reason why it's coming more into focus now is that probably people are applying it a little to the extreme because of a lot of frustration in the community. People are beaten to a certain extent, and all that. And because the refining moment for that discipline is not, being well applied, being well adhered to. So a child that is very young, what most people found, even if from literature, from studies, is that the gentle paddle is what will work. Your very young child that screamed and threw a tantrum and whatever, it's good that you are an observant mother. Some other mothers will think, okay, maybe when I get home, I won't give him candy, I won't give him sweet, I won't give him his films. Those are deterrents that they use out there. And then it will stop that behavior. But the boy can decide to hell with all your candies, I don't want it. Yes. And will throw the tantrum again. Okay, so for some children, that's what I'm saying, for some children now, after you have tried to correct, we are talking about gradation now, you have tried to speak to the child. Let's say this child now expect to understand that you don't throw tantrum in public like a 4-year-old is supposed to understand this. And the child does it again. Then you might want to apply a more definitive kind of correction, upscale your correction method a bit. But there's a caution. It can backfire in a few cases. Maybe just about less than 10% of cases. It's only less than 10% of cases.
So you're saying that the smacking, the gentle, not the brutal one.
Yes.
Are you saying it works as a way
yes,
of correction?
Probably 90% of cases.
It does work.
Yes. And the one that doesn't work will not work because the other is not being applied, which is reward. The child, each time the child does something good, all of us just nod our head, he's doing good. There is no reward for it. It's only when he does bad that everybody steps out. And everybody starts criticizing. And then the child feels hated. I mean, I've been doing all this good. Why are they now stepping on this little, what he considers one of just those little mistakes? He's done 100 good, and nobody has said anything good.
So you have to balance.
Yes. So all of us must, in short, probably the most effective weapon for shaping a child is positive reinforcement.
Because you represent a lot of children here, and that's why I need your opinion on this. Has there ever been a time when you felt that you were missing? How many children are you in your home?
4.
What position are you in?
2nd.
2nd?
Yes.
So you have younger ones?
Yes, 2.
Is there any child that you think that you've seen any one of your parents spank?
Well, first of all, I kind of was bad at the beginning.
So now you're coming down to our level.
Yeah. So I'm good now. And my older sister, she is really lazy a lot. So my parents are like, you got to do this if you want to be like that, and like.
She's really
lazy and all that.
She's lazy.
Yeah.
Okay.
She's all like, oh, do this. Oh, it's too much work. So my parents are like, you have to do this or else, like, consequences. And so, like, my mom and my dad, they're like, okay, if you're going to be a lazy child, then you're going to have a lazy future, all that kind of stuff. So my parents are like,
What kind of punishment do they give when you step out of line at home? What kind of things do they do?
First of all...
How many girls?
4.
You're all girls?
Yeah, all of us, yes.
Okay. And I'm not stubborn, I'm not a good boy for DVD.
So first of all, if you step beyond boundaries...
What kind of boundaries?
Like, my parents have this expectation for us, like, we all have this limit where, we know what to do, we have the senses to, like, we know this is bad, we know this is good. So if we go beyond the boundaries of knowing what is good, then first of all, my mom or dad will take away our allowance for the week, which is 1K. Wow, that's a lot of money. 1K for the week, which is for school. Take that away. Or, like, she takes the iPad from us. We all have an iPad. And we, like, communicate. We do all the stuff on
this one I don't get from you. No, but look beyond the iPad, she's saying. We all know she's a butter. What I'm saying is, the things that they like,
take it away.
Are taken away from them, yeah?
Yeah, and that's something that we all feel like, oh, we don't want to have that away from us, so we have to be good. So, like, no iPad for a week, or if you have a birthday party coming up, my mom is like, no, you're not going because of what you did that time. So that's basically like the major punishments. Apart from that, we're still good.
So they ground you.
Yeah.
What do they call that punishment where you go to the corner? Time out.
Go to your naughty corner.
Naughty corner.
Yeah.
Thank you. You guys do naughty corner.
For my little sister, yeah, she's gonna be 2 soon. because she knows how to operate lots of systems in her house. Like she can use the remote and be like, you know, doing everything. And then if you go like to the kitchen or somewhere and then you're coming back to your seat, she just comes with her little leg, she now runs and comes to your seat. And then it's like, I was sitting here before, why are you coming? Or she might like tear her homework or do anything. So my mom is like, you have to control yourself. You go sit in the naughty corner, which is like where her car seat is when we take it out sometimes.
So when she sits there, does she feel bad? Does it work?
She's laughing all the time. She's like, haha, I took your seat. Okay.
The naughty corner, does it stop her from doing it again?
Yeah, she kind of gets calm sometimes about it, or she will continuously continue doing it. And like, you know, sometimes she just does it for fun. Other times she just like, nah, I'm tired to do that. So she just lets us go to where we were before.
I wanted to emphasize the importance of environment and starting early with discipline. Once a child has escaped the early phase of discipline, discipline becomes extremely difficult.
Wow. Okay.
So if you have this child that is growing under your roof 4, 5, 6 years of age, and that child has not been tamed in quotes to be able to take instructions, relate with authority figures, and the child has left that way, then now that the child is older, because this child has now been molded this way, it becomes more difficult to communicate with that child. Communication develops early in life.
So it is the sooner you start, the better
Yes.
for you. Because
So
at a particular age or
discipline
stage.
is communication. And any child that doesn't form a language by 6 years will have a lot of problems. Whether you use all the known corrective measures or even force, it becomes very difficult because the child is already molded in a particular way.
We are not, and also the communication between we and our children. Because if you're so like me, like now, back in schools, the kind of friend you make really counts a lot. Because if you are very close to your child's friend, definitely there's somebody that child listens to. It could be either a girl or a boy, but there's somebody that child listens to. By the time you call a counselor, because you call the counselor, that child will just listen to that counselor for that moment. But there's somebody always with that friend, with your son or your daughter. That person is the friend. And your son or your daughter can actually listen to that person very well, more better than whosoever we might have called.
My son is in secondary school. There's a boy that attends the same school with my son in our estate. I drop him in the morning. I drop two of them. I drop them in the morning, but the bus brings them back in the afternoon because of, you know, our times cannot tally in the afternoon. There's this other boy in our neighborhood that attends that same school. Each time that boy, maybe the father is busy or something, wants to ride with us to school, comes to our home. I noticed that my son, from home to their school, my son does not converse, you know, very unlike boys.
They don't talk.
Same about age group. They don't really just good morning, sit down. Then this day I asked my son at home. So I noticed that each time this boy rides with us to school, you don't really, does it mean you guys don't play football together in school? He said, Mommy, I don't want to be friends with that boy. I said, why? He said there are some things he does that even at assembly, they have called him out about twice that, Mommy, if I'm his friend, you will not like it at all.
I think when I was in maybe primary 6, I think our problems usually graduate. Because I was primary 6, if my mom should go out around maybe 6, my friends will come home, we'll play rubber. Just play. Till maybe around 10, then we'll stop. But later, as I entered the JS1, JS2, JS3, I kept rubber. I started playing game. We'll go out maybe from 4 o'clock. We'll play game till 7, but to make sure that we come back home before my mommy does. So after game again from JS3, SS1, we'll dump game again. Either I will start phone or start doing other things. Either going out to play ball or going to do other things. But that's what I think. And also, in schools, there are some people that even though you flog them 100 strokes, they will not show a sign of remorse. Now, I usually ask them that, why is it that, because some people, if you just raise cane, they'll start crying. But some people, they'll say, it's not okay. I will not shall die. Just cry, I will stop. I usually ask them why. They'll say at home that their dad will use maybe wire Okobogo to flog them. Continue flogging them well, that soon they will get accustomed to it. But they said there was a time that father stopped flogging her for a year. The time the father resumed them, it was more painful than before. So because they say if you continue flogging them, you are training them, they'll continue they'll
That's
be
what you
getting
mean
stronger.
by flogging at every slight provocation. The child, it doesn't mean anything.
They'll say they'll be you'll becoming stronger. So I want to ask, how can you stop those people?
The parents should talk more to that child and flog less.
Yes.
Besides, the more you, it's habituation. The more you flog, the more, like you said, the child
Please don't
adapts
listen
to the flogging.
It mustn't
You
be
know,
long.
and some parents,
I will
it's because they don't want to give the time to the child. The more you don't, every child that is loved knows it. And every child you don't give time to knows that you're not giving time to him or her. Sometimes children are deliberately doing things because they want to call their parents' attention to themselves. Because they believe
So
that
it's
the parents,
attention seeking.
yes.
Thank you very much. I quite agree with the balance of the rod. As a matter of fact, there is a rod in the talk at times. When we speak to the child, there is also a rod in it because there are some children that doesn't like to be talked to. And as well, we use the rod where necessary. I believe in using the cane, not all the time. That my kids are here. I don't know how they feel about the cane. But I deliberately tell them that I talk to them a lot. We talk a lot. But when I realized that I will talk and they were not changing in some things, and I'll keep saying, I'll buy the cane, I'll buy pankere, I'll buy. I had to actually buy. In fact, I bought 4 and I kept it in the house. Not with the intention of using all the 4, but I just wanted to use it to scare them. But I realized that they felt that, okay, I was just going to use it to scare them and that's all. So they'll do things that they're not supposed to. So I started using it on them. You know, so I believe there's a balance. They don't like it, but I use it, but it is not all the time. And I also believe in the temperament thing. As parents, we need to understand this temperament. If we understand this temperament, we'll be able to know when to use the talk, when to use the rod, and when to increase what and reduce what. Thank you very much.
Why do you think she's caning you?
Because I've done something wrong.
Do you ever think that there's anything you've done that deserves caning?
Yes.
You think you deserve it when she canes you?
Yes.
Why?
Because I've
Wouldn't
done...
you rather she just talks to you and tells you you've done something wrong?
It's not really changing.
So do you believe that sometimes children need to be caned?
Yes.
You think so?
Yes.
And that when they get caned, they change?
Some of them.
Some of them. Are you afraid of the cane?
Sometimes.
But mine is a kind of question. In some cases whereby you've talked much and you've flogged less, and you've talked more and you've flogged more, and still the child doesn't want to change, what do you do?
It's very really happen in life that to rod a child, all those things are good. One thing that, like I remember when in school, a teacher said, when he's beating a child, you have to kneel down. You call the name of the man, Mr. Berry. Because every time he's beating you, say, Berry, Berry. And when you are beating a child, it doesn't change sometimes because it affects the metaphysics in the body. And when the system is being affected, it doesn't make a child to change.
My question is that, is it possible for a mother to train a boy? Because I lost my father some years ago, but I was with my mom, and I don't feel...
You don't feel trained?
No, as in I don't feel maybe my father is not alive or is alive.
My question is that, I'm going to use my brother as an example. There was a particular day he did something very wrong, and before my mom uses the rod on us, she'll talk to us and gives us a warning. But she didn't think twice. She just asked me to go get a belt. I brought it, and before she flogged him, my brother said he wasn't going to cry. And when she flogged him, he didn't cry. And my mom looked at me and she was like, what do I do?
My question is this. What if the parents are illiterate and they possess ignorance? How do they solve the problem?
I want to say this about my niece. She plays a lot at home and does her assignment when it is necessary for her. But there was a day I went to school to pick her up, and her class teacher was like asking me if her mom do take her to church regularly because she's too quiet being in the school. How does church affect education?
I'm Ibrahim. I want to ask how to place the priority of the ways of treating the kids from understanding their kind of traits and other ways of treating them. How to place their priorities.
My question is, I would go to my brother. My younger brother is this type of boy that is kind of stubborn. So at times when he's going to school, they give him money. Then there was a day my grandma was to give him a little money. Then she gave him 500 to bring change. Then he spent everything in school, lying that the seller was to give him change. He did it 2 times. Then I flogged him for the first one before he repeated it the second time. And I don't know what to do because I'm living with my grandma. So a boy like that, what do you think we can do to him?
One, you can identify someone who is of the same age group, who can be a role model.
At 5, for instance? Or teenager?
At 5. Rod not working at 5. That would be very, very rare. For a 5-year-old, a 5-year-old is still
developing.
Can still mold a 5-year-old easily.
Yeah.
That was why doctor said at that age, that's when you just spank to correct. Once they leave that age, they can never go back. Once they miss it there, they can never go back to gain it. But when you're talking about adolescent, for example, who is stubborn in quotes, cane is not working, talk is not working. Number one, look at your environment, look at yourself as a parent, because most children who have this problem, behind their problem are adults. Adults are the cause of most of these problems children are having. If you cannot find anything wrong in the home, you may look for someone, a child of about the same age, who can be a role model, who we call maybe peer educator, who can influence positively that child.
Okay.
Watch out. Then if it's not working, seek help from people like doctor, from a child psychologist, to identify why the child is reacting
the way the child is reacting. Doc,
I absolutely identify with one of the speakers in there. Sometimes in the family, there's what you call occult problem. Nobody sees it, but it's there. And it's affecting this child only. So because the other children are not affected, everybody wonders, this is, I mean, all of them are living here with me. But the mistake a parent made here is that they decided that my first child, I will set her straight, and she will set the others straight. So they picked this, their firstborn, and they practically abused her. And so she became rebellious. And these other 2 coming up, they were more relaxed. So what that sent to her, the message is that I'm not loved. They love these other 2, and they don't love me. And unfortunately, this family never detected this problem. And she just grew up and went out of the house. But it affected her all through her life. She's in school, she's rebellious, she's everywhere, she's rebellious. And everybody is clapping her through. But the truth is that the problem was from the home. So if there's a child that is difficult with correction at home, and every other child is okay or something, we have to come back and look at that home first. We have to come back and look at why that child is like that. Interestingly, most of the time the child can tell you why.
Yeah, we're going to take last lines from members of the panel. Something you want us to go away with. Let's start with you, Mary.
So what I was saying was, parents, you have to study your children and know what they do. So then, like, you know, like, what they do and how, like, they engage with their environment, their friends.
If your parents correct you and you know the correction is a negative side, you can talk to them. That's for children. But for parents, we give them orientation.
So where you cannot talk to your parents directly, you tell your teacher so your teacher can help you talk to your parents. Does that work? Okay.
The The child right law, which protects the rights of the child, also gives a room for responsibility on the part of the children. There is an area where the children are told their responsibility, part of which is respect for your parents.
Is this available? This is the child rights law. Is this can somebody buy this, or do you pick it up, or?
This is the simplified version.
Yeah.
It's available free of charge.
Okay.
Yeah.
Where do you get this from?
From our office.
We have to come to Alausa to get one. Okay.
Maybe we send some copies to you.
Thank you.
Can get
so
some
we can
copies
send
sent
it out
to
to
you.
children.
Yes.
So what's the responsibility of the child?
So the fact that there is a child right law that protects the child from being maltreated, so to say, does not mean the child can do just anything. There is an area where the child has been given, areas in which the child has to be responsible.
Thank you very much. Doc, the last line from you.
Every child that is loved knows that he or she is loved. And every child that is prodded in love knows that this prodding is love. So it behoves on all relevant stakeholders to know what corrective means, measures, and in what intensity, mode that you are going to use to correct this child for this particular mistake. If they have to have parental training, teachers training, any kind of training that will be formed, it should be done. So that every stage in life, this child knows, the adults know how to put in a corrective measure for the child. And that corrective measure sometimes does not work because you are not doing the correction. It may not be working because there are other things in your environment that are not making it work. And often that's what parents and teachers miss out on. So if a child, if it's not working, if your correction is not working on a child, you must begin to look at the environment of that child. What is this child going through? What's going on through the child? If everything is okay, then we have to look at the child himself. Is this child a normal child? Thank you.
Thank you very much. I want to say a very big thank you to you. This has been very educative. I'm sure that we're going to get a lot of comments and contributions on this topic, but we'll continue to talk about this. This is an ongoing discussion. We can never say it all in one recording. So a very big thank you to you, my panelists. Thank you for shedding light to my audience. Thank you. To the viewers at home, if you have comments or suggestions, send us an email at insideoutwithagatha@yahoo.com or visit our Facebook page at www.facebook.com/insideoutwithagatha, or just follow us on Twitter. I'd like to say a big thank you to Divine Endowments for my clothes, Funke Lori for my makeup, Oba for my hair, Voltic Water for providing us with that, and to my stylist, Kelu Image Consultants, for styling me today. Until next week when we come your way again, talking about something else equally as educative and exciting. Bye-bye, and see you next week.